to introduce to you Tania. Unzueta, my assistant helped me do the research on putting these bios together. And here's what she says about her. She said, Tania Unzueta is a dream activist and general badass. She wrote a letter to Barack Obama that started with the sentence, "My name is Tania Unzueta and I'm undocumented. I've lived in Chicago since I was 10 years old." I'm going to leapfrog to the rest of the letter and say, "I was there with the DREAM Act 5 in John McCain's office when 3 undocumented youth made history as the first undocumented immigrants committing civil disobedience and getting detained with the aim of changing U.S. immigration law. I was also one of the DREAM Act 21 to get arrested for the second time in U.S. history on Capitol Hill in a mostly successful effort to get Congress shift towards taking up the DREAM Act. How many more youth will have to detain themselves before Congress passes DREAM? How many more lives have to be put on hold or lost to the shadows before our leaders act? The time to pass the DREAM Act is now. Please join us. Sincerely, Tania Unzueta." So badass, activist. A lot of energy and hope and power has come from you guys just taking to the streets, coming out of the shadows, really reminding us what we need to be putting on the line to gain the kind of victories that we want. And really, deep respect and thank you for that work. What's going on with you right now? What are some of the next steps that all of us need to be thinking about, not just around the dreamers, but sort of really with all of the intersection of issues that you're dealing with and putting frontline and center?
Yeah, so you may have heard the recent statements from the president around deferred action for childhood arrivals, right? That's a program that's supposed to provide a path to obtain a work permit for undocumented youth who came here before the age of 15 and have fulfilled a variety of requirements. And so I think a lot of our organizations right now are figuring out how to make sure that that happens for those who qualify. And there's actually a lot of funding coming in for organizations in order to have them help young people fill out forms and things like that. And I think for us the challenge is how do we do that, and the outreach and the making sure that people know what's happening with the program and don't get checked by lawyers and attorneys and etc. How do we do that and continue the social justice work that we've been doing before then, particularly around deportations? Part of what's happened is that everyone thinks that now things are fine for young people and for immigrants, right? Like you have deferred action, we keep hearing. But the reality is that there's still 400,000 deportations that are happening every year. There's still people who are getting deported who should be considered by the government as low priority, meaning that they have no criminal background, they aren't a threat to society, etc. And then there's the people who are getting deported who are considered criminals for a variety of reasons, including traffic violations and the way that society criminalizes the communities of color in particular. And so for me, and I think for a lot of young people who are in this position, it's this balance of how do we continue the work that we're doing with the opportunities that have been provided for the policy, but also continue to bring attention to those things that haven't changed, and particularly for a lot of us, it's about our families and our parents. The reality is that we have parents that don't qualify for deferred action, and brothers and sisters and cousins and friends. And so when we talk about deportations and how they're affecting our communities, it's still something that very much affects us. I think in general we're still dealing also with a lot of anger from young people. So as someone who's grown up undocumented in the United States for the last 18 years, I feel very angry still about the way that immigration has not been addressed by a lot of social justice movements. And so I think we're trying to figure out how do we get our voices heard within the larger social justice arena, but also learn from a lot of the stuff that's been happening that is very innovative. So we're in a very interesting space right now where there's a lot of opportunities as well.